Welcome to English Mirror. What is post-truth? Today we ask a question and try to answer it. This is about a new concept which has gained currency in the recent academic discourses. Let's look into it. The phenomenon of post-truth rocketed to public attention in November 2016 when the Oxford Dictionaries named it 2016's Word of the Year. The Oxford Dictionaries define post-truth as relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. In this, they underline that the prefix post is meant to indicate not so much the idea that we are past truth in a temporal sense, as in post-war, but in the sense that truth has been eclipsed, that it is irrelevant. In 2005, Stephen Colbert coined the term truthiness, defined as being persuaded by whether something feels true even if it is not necessarily backed up by the facts, in response to George W. Bush's excesses in relying on his gut for big decisions such as the nomination of Harriet Miers for the US Supreme Court or going to war in Iraq without adequate proof of weapons of mass destruction. When the term was coined, truthiness was treated as a big joke, but people aren't laughing anymore. As presented in current debate, the word post-truth is irreducibly normative. It is an expression of concern by those who care about the concept of truth and feel that it is under attack. The concept of truth in philosophy goes all the way back to Plato, who warned through Socrates of the dangers of false claims to knowledge. Ignorance, Socrates felt, was remediable. If one is ignorant, one can be taught. The greater threat comes from those who have the hubris to think that they already know the truth, for then one might be impetuous enough to act on a falsehood. Perhaps the most famous is that of Aristotle, who said, "To say of what is that it is not, or of what is not that it is false, while to say of what is that it is, and of what is not that it is not is true." Naturally, philosophers have fought for centuries over whether this sort of correspondence view is correct, whereby we judge the truth of a statement only by how well it fits reality. Other prominent conceptions of truth reflect a diversity of opinion among philosophers about the proper theory of truth, even while, as a value, there seems little dispute that truth is important. By definition, every lie has an audience. We may not feel responsible for uttering a falsehood if no one is listening, or if we are sure that no one will believe it. But when our intent is to manipulate someone into believing something that we know to be untrue, we have graduated from the mere interpretation of facts into their falsification. In its purest form, post-truth is when one thinks that the crowd's reaction actually does change the fact about a lie. Pundits may argue over where Trump fits into this range, whether he is a deceiver, indifferent, cynical, or delusional. Yet all seem sufficiently hostile to truth to qualify as post-truth. Even though it seems important to illuminate their differences and understand that there are many ways one can fit underneath the post-truth umbrella, None of this should be acceptable to those who genuinely care about the notion of truth. What seems new in the post-truth era is a challenge not just to the idea of knowing reality, but to the existence of reality itself. When President Trump maintains that climate change is a hoax invented by the Chinese government to ruin the American economy, the long-term consequences may be equally devastating, if not more so. The main criterion is what favors their pre-existing beliefs. This is not the abandonment of facts, but a corruption of the process by which facts are credibly gathered and reliably used to shape one's beliefs about reality. Indeed, the rejection of this undermines the idea that some things are true irrespective of how we feel about them, and that it is in our best interest and those of our policymakers to attempt to find them. The sense that post-truth is not so much a claim that truth does not exist as that facts are subordinate to our political point of view. Post-truth amounts to a form of ideological supremacy, whereby its practitioners are trying to compel someone to believe in something whether there is good evidence for it or not. And this is a recipe for political domination. The first step in fighting post-truth is to understand its genesis. It may seem to some commentators that the idea of post-truth simply burst onto the scene in 2016. But that is not the case. The word post-truth may have seen a recent uptick as a result of Brexit and the US presidential election. But the phenomenon itself has deep roots that go back thousands of years to the evolution of cognitive irrationalities that are shared by liberals and conservatives alike. In the past 2 decades, explosion of science, denial on topics like climate change, vaccines, and evolution, we see the birth of tactics that are now being used for post-truth. The phenomenon of post-truth is neither opaque nor impenetrable. In a world in which politicians can challenge the facts and pay no political price whatsoever, post-truth is bigger than any one person. It exists in us as well as our leaders. Thank you for watching this video.